Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mobile Bev Pros podcast, a podcast dedicated to providing mobile bar professionals with the information they need to succeed. I'm your host and fellow mobile bar owner, Sarah Murphy. Each episode, I'll be bringing you interviews, knowledge, anecdotes, or opinions with the goal of assisting you in building a profitable, sustainable, and scalable mobile bar business that will support the lifestyle you dream of. I'm excited for today's episode, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. Today, I have with me Sophie Hamilton. She owns the Bedford Bar in Cairns, Queensland, Australia, right off the Great Barrier Reef. She's been a mentor with Mobile Bev Pros since day one. She's also one of the most, if not the most prolific blog contributor on the Mobile Bev Pros blog. And she's here today. We're going to talk about bar builds, which I know everyone here loves to hear, but also we're going to talk about trends in Australia, because one thing that I've noticed over the years is that when things happen in Australia, they tend to trickle over to the United States, either a season or two behind. So, Sophie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Of
course. I always love talking to you. And we've talked on the phone, but I don't think we've ever actually.
No, I don't think we have.
No, this is awesome. This is really a treat for me and also the listeners. So Australia's had a big year, just like the rest of us, I think, in 2020. I don't know what's going to happen next, but you guys had fires to start it all off. Did that affect you guys?
No, where we are up here, we're in the wet tropics area. So it rains a lot. There's a lot of rainforest and we don't get that many fires. So it didn't actually affect us at all. But I know it affected a lot of the rest of the country. So, yeah, we've had a big year.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you guys didn't get any of the fires, because we did actually support one of the other members with a little bit of a fundraiser for her community. And we have a number of Australian, but it's hard for us to know over on the side of the world how big Australia is. So it's kind of like when you go abroad and people are like, oh, I know somebody from Tennessee. You might know her. It's like, I know I probably
don't. People say that to me all the time. I know someone in Queensland, and I'm like, it's a huge state. I won't know them.
Chances are I don't know, but you never know. But you have one of the first. Everyone loves to claim that they're the first, right? Even if they don't know for sure that they are. But you have one of the first bar trucks in the mobile bar industry.
Yeah, I think actually technically we were second, but you know, nobody's really counting who was first, are they? So
not at all. One of the first, but you're one of the OG bar trucks.
Yeah, there's still not that many actually, I know, but yeah, we're one of the originals. So.
Yeah, you've been an inspiration for many, many mobile bars that have come to kind of sprout up over the years. And you have, this is what, your sixth season?
This will be our sixth season, I think.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So, yeah, I know. The first one was a bit of a quiet one, and I think this one probably will be too. But yeah, our sixth season. So I think we're beginning to know what we're doing, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. And you guys are entering your winter season. So it would have been a little slow now for you anyways, but you probably missed out on your fall, which probably is a big wedding season for you.
Yeah, so for us, the wedding season runs from June really till the beginning of November, sometimes May, depending. So we're really just coming into it, what would be our busy season now. We're all hoping, I think, to still get the tail end. The restrictions for COVID in Australia are showing weddings over 100 in July. So we're hoping that, most of my weddings for July, August, September have postponed, but I've still got lots in October. So I'm hoping that we might still get some of a season.
Definitely. I think we're all kind of crossing our fingers for the same thing. Yeah. For us, it was very much like, you're not going to do weddings at all. Don't even think about it this summer. And then suddenly everyone's like, okay, we're open. We're open. We can do that now. Yeah. And so we were all kind of taken up. I think even the brides and groups were like, what? Can we have a wedding? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that here. People that I thought were definitely postponing in September are now like, well, do we have to? I guess we don't, but do we want to? We don't know. Because they've sort of written it off in their mind.
Right.
They've phoned it in their minds till next year. But
so one of the things that people like ourselves, the mobile bar owners that have all of this kind of unexpected COVID time off are doing are building more bars. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about building. We did a previous episode on horse trailers, which was lovely, but there are lots of other types of bars that we can talk about building. And you have a bar truck, which is awesome.
Yeah, we actually have been using this time off to build another one as well. So we're in the same boat. Yeah, we've had this truck since like 2017 or something, and it's just sat in the shed without wheels on for a really long time.
I have 3 rigs currently that are waiting to be renovated, so I get it.
Yeah, well, my father-in-law does all our mechanics, and so it's very handy, but you also can't rush him. So
totally.
Yeah, so we've also been building another one, and this one is going to be completely different to the first one we built. And I think a lot of that is through the trends just changing here.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
The second one we're building, so the original one is quite rustic, even though like it's got, elements of class about it. It's got a really great paint job. It's got some really classy bits and pieces on it. So it's not like an old farm truck kind of thing. This one we're doing out really luxe. So it's going to be black. It's going to have like a really dark timber on it and probably lots of shiny and all that sort of stuff. So I'm seeing a lot of the bars here are really moving away from like the rustic wedding-y feel and really going luxe this year. And I've already booked it for next year on a whole heap of events for people who are looking for exactly that. So,
and how did you do that? Did you have a rendering of it, or did you just describe it to them?
I literally just described it as being like the current one, but black, a little bit glossier, a little bit more luxe. And people are just like, yeah, let's book that straight away.
Nice.
For some reason, we've got a lot of monochrome weddings coming up, and they all want this black truck. So that's not something I've really had much to do with before. I don't think I've ever done a monochrome wedding.
No, and I don't think that we've seen that trend at all here, monochrome wise. So are we thinking like black and white, that kind of monochrome?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of white, but really high end accents. So maybe lots of gold. Definitely both the brides that I've spoken to directly about it. We're talking about those ghost chairs. Have you seen those? The clear perspex ones, and they're both like obsessed with those. So and black tables, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's where this truck's going for its first event.
That's awesome. And so what does the renovation process for you look like?
The first stage for us is always doing the body. And so the truck cab itself, because the most important thing for us is to make it look really high end, because I think you risk with trucks taking them into an event and them looking like an old farm truck that their dad just rocked up with. And we don't want ours to look like that. That's fine if you do want yours to look like that, but we don't. We wanted ours to be the centerpiece that really brings the wedding to the next level, I guess. Right. So we always spend a lot of time preparing the truck, body, painting. It's been in the paint shop for like 4 months. So that's how long it takes. And then the build out for us is pretty easy because my husband's a carpenter. So working with wood is what he does.
Yeah.
So that's what we consider the easy part of the build.
Okay. So if the cab itself is the easy part, what comes next?
Oh, no, sorry. The cab's usually harder, and the sort of bar build on the back is the easy part. So once we've got obviously when you go with a truck, really the hardest part is getting it running well and being reliable and having brakes that work and a gearbox that doesn't make it drive like a 1950s truck, even though that's what it is.
Right.
And finding the parts is always a nightmare. So really getting them running smoothly, well, reliably is always the hardest part of working with a truck.
And what year and model is this next truck of yours?
This is a 1954 Bedford A2. So it's smaller than our current one and older, which is maybe not a good idea, but we'll see. Anyway, the older you go, the more problems you have. So
perhaps in some ways, I found that some of the older vehicles actually are a little bit easier, and I don't work on them myself, but it's a little bit easier to find people who know how to work on them than some of the newer ones, because back then they were a little bit more, the people were supposed to work on them themselves back then.
Yeah,
now it's like the computer runs everything.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah. But still, it can be really hard. We can't find anybody in our city that makes the right brake shoes because it's like an old vintage style and they don't sell the right glue anymore. And so just like little weird bits and pieces that you would honestly never think about writing into your business plan or understanding. But
absolutely,
that's what happens.
So do you drive your trucks on site? Yeah,
we do. We've driven and we will drive them everywhere they go, which adds that extra little bit of adrenaline to your day. We did a wedding last year where the brakes got stuck on, and my husband had to stop 5 or 6 times between my house and the wedding to release handbrake fluid. He came back with all the hairs burnt off his hands from touching the hot brakes and stuff. Like it was a bit of a nightmare. But the original truck is so big, we can't really float it. So yeah, this is when you start a business without any advice from anybody. So I'm pretty sure
which is probably the
vast to this will be perfect.
I was going to say the vast majority of our members are people who decide that this is a really good idea before they've asked anyone about it.
Yeah.
And I think that now that we're in it, we're still in it, right? Like we're still doing it for some reason. And
no, there's definitely good parts, but we have lived and learned, and the second truck is smaller. So hopefully we won't need like a prime mover truck if it ever breaks down. Those things are really expensive to borrow.
100%, for sure. And so how much smaller is the second one?
Well, the current one is a 5-ton truck. So that's its carrying capacity. And this one is a 2-ton truck. But because it's older, it's generally shorter and it's more of the size of what in Australia we would call a ute. But I guess you probably call like a pickup.
Yeah.
But more that kind of, more like a car really than a truck. So
yeah, so for listeners who haven't already kind of looked up the Bedford Bar on Instagram, you should, because it is their first truck it's a beast. It's a big boy for sure, but beautiful. And obviously still after 5 going into 6 seasons, getting the job done, which is awesome. And so what are you going to do with the back of it? Are you going to do it very much the same way that you did with the original?
Yeah, very much the same sort of setup. I mean, we're obviously tweaking minor things that as we've worked with our truck and taken it to events, we've realized that stuff that's in a stupid place. We don't like that. That doesn't work. All that kind of stuff. So there are going to be changes. We're putting in a lot more taps on this one because we're noticing that people are just requesting tap beer flat out. We get more requests for tap beer. And we're lucky in Cairns because we have some really great local breweries that are cheaper and are fantastic quality. So it makes people want to use tap beer. So we're adding more taps because we only have 2 at the moment and 2 is not enough.
No, if you look at that giant truck and you're like, only 2 taps.
Yeah, that was one of those things where we were building it and I was like, do we need that? And my husband was like, yeah, we do. So we compromised and just did 2. But now obviously we're putting 4 at least in the second one.
Yeah. So, and my tap truck has 6, I think, which is kind of, I think it's nice because you can get a red, a white, a couple beers and 2 cocktails, which is kind of a nice mix.
Yeah. I'm not sure about wine here. I don't know if we'd be able to get kegged wine up here.
And again, for anyone that's listening, that's very state specific because there are some states that really struggle to get wine in kegs. Tennessee apparently is not one of them. We have a nice large selection of wines that you can get in kegs. But if you are thinking about doing a tap vehicle, please do your research ahead of time. I can not even count how many times I've gotten calls from people that are like, I have this Piaggio Ape that I had built and now I can't find Prosecco on tap or I can't find whatever on tap. It's like, I'm sorry. I can point you in the direction that you can ask, but if you can't find it, chances are it's a distributor issue.
Yeah, so I think here you have to have it shipped in from some of the southern states, and someone will probably tell me I'm wrong, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't want to deal with that. Just stick with beer.
Totally, beer is so much easier. And you guys drink a lot of it over there. I love hearing.
Yeah, I'm not actually Australian. I'm English, so the Australians love beer.
They do. I mean, I was talking with, as we were discussing earlier, I was talking with Lulu, who's also in Australia, and she told me that their calculation for consumption is 2 drinks per hour per guest, which is over here in the States, at least in Tennessee, that's our heavy. That's like if someone is a heavy drinker, that's what you would use.
That's exactly what I would use here in Cairns as well. So, yep, spot on.
And you guys party longer. Like our average event here is 4 hours, and you guys you're like 6-8 hour average event time.
Yeah, so it's really rare that we do an event that's shorter than 6 hours. And we've done a 10-hour event. I don't recommend, but it actually all ended up fine. And I think people, when they know they're going to be there for a long time, they actually pace themselves a little bit better anyway than smashing it all in 4 hours. So, but yeah, they do. They party a lot longer here and drink a lot.
I love it. You guys are definitely my people. I must check out, attend a wedding in Australia.
Yeah.
So you've built a bar about 6 years ago. You're building your second bar now. What is like the top 2 to 3 things that you would tell someone who might be just building their first bar now?
I would probably tell them to not underestimate the time commitment and the work involved in running a mobile bar. I think lots of people think, oh, it's fine. Like you just rock up on the day, serve some drinks. And we'll say that we were in that boat too. We thought it would be really easy. And it is. It's great. It's so much fun. And after a few events, it does get easier, of course. But I think there's a lot of preparation and a lot of talking to your clients all the time about everything to make sure it's perfect. And I think people underestimate what they're getting into. And I see a lot of bars for sale. And so I personally think that might be because people don't realize what they're getting themselves into.
How much work it is, for sure. It's a ton of work.
It is, and it's physical as well, and it's long hours and late and early starts, late mornings. We did some back-to-back events where we had 2.5 hours sleep in between because we had a late one and a lot of travel and then an early start. And although that's probably unusual, it does happen, and people just, I think, aren't prepared. And that's fine.
Yeah. And especially in the early days, I think that's actually really important to kind of point out. In the early days, you kind of take everything. You say yes to everything because 1, you need the money. 2, it's a great opportunity. 3, you have no idea. Right.
Yeah. So and that's exactly how we got in that situation.
Yeah. I've been there. I literally came back from an event, washed the dishes, sanitized the coolers, and rolled out super early the next morning to go set up for like a breakfast/brunch event the next day. And vowed never, ever to do that again.
Yeah. I think as well, I would tell people to not skimp on their rigs if they can spend the money and not cut corners on stuff, because otherwise you just end up with, things that don't work and broke and stuff and bars they're not always treated delicately. In the middle of your like slinging welcome drinks, there's going to be bottles sloshed around and there's going to be water everywhere. And I think you just need to spend the money wisely. And
yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, we skimped on the paint job on our first bar, and it has not held up the test of time. So that's why our second one has been going in the paint shop for so long. And we've made lots of other mistakes, but
that could be a book in of itself. The mistakes we've made with our mobile bar businesses, for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't really think about anything else. Maybe just outsourcing stuff where you can. When you're starting off in business, it's really tempting to take on everything yourself because I don't want to spend all the money. I don't want to. This is my business. I want to do it. I am the main culprit of this. But I think some things you just have to say, you know what, I'm terrible at this. It takes me so much time. It saves me so much worry if I just outsource it to somebody else.
So the first thing I outsourced was social media because I hate it. You that's what you do for a living. That's your day job, right? You do
Yeah, it is.
marketing and yeah. So
Although
what would you have outsourced?
my accounting,
Oh, perfect.
because I hate bookkeeping. And it was always the last thing I did. And I would always feel really disorganized. And then I'd be like, oh, I don't even know where we are in this business because I haven't done that bookkeeping. I hate it. So I'm not going to do it now.
Totally. And this is my plug for anybody and everybody. I literally was the executive director of finance for 5 multi-million dollar restaurants for 5 years. I did all of their books. I closed everything. I know how to keep books, but as an entrepreneur, who has time for that, right? So if I'm looking at my business and I'm waiting to close the books every month, that's a retroactive view of where you are. And so profit first. I know everyone has heard me say it a million times. Sophie's smiling because she's like, yeah, Sarah, we've heard this before.
No, I use profit first too, so I'm not judging you.
Yes, you do now. But it allows you to see kind of in real time where you are with what you have to spend for ops, what you have for all the things that you need, right? And so as someone who literally spent 5 years being that accountant / bookkeeper for 5 multi-million dollar businesses that would wait for my numbers to come out by the 10th of the month when I closed the books to make decisions. Had I been practicing profit first, or had they been practicing profit first then, they would have been so much more nimble and able to make decisions as to whether or not they had the cash to do certain things way sooner than waiting for the books to close. So yes, outsource your accounting because that stuff is noise. Like nobody has time for that. You as a business owner can be doing much better and much more important things with your life than keeping the books. But also if you're practicing profit first, you don't need to wait for your books to close to know where you are.
No, and how great has Profit First been during COVID-19 as well, to look in those accounts and see, oh, yes, I can afford to pay us.
It has saved my business. I don't know about yours, Sophie, but it has saved my business.
So important as well. And what peace of mind to just, at the start of all of this, I was like, all right, I'll just log in and see what I got to spend. Where?
Exactly.
And just there. So.
Exactly. And yes, there was a little bit of shuffling of money around because I'm like, okay, well, I need more in my ops account right now because I'm paying rent and I'm not making any money. Right. So some of these the profit account, sorry, that's going into the ops account because I can't spend profits if I'm literally having to pay rent, but the money is there. Right. So anyone listening who hasn't read the book Profit First, or listen to me preach about it until this very moment, investigate it because it is an important part of building a sustainable and resilient business, especially with a questionable economy. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Sophie. I also, even though I know how to do my own bookkeeping, I am not a fan of that. Do you take a certain number of events every year or like, because I know there are certain bars that cap out the number of weddings that they do per year. They're just like, I'm going to take this amount because you also have a full-time job. So
yeah, we have not, although this year, I felt like so far we've never come to the point where we felt like we needed to cap it. We've come pretty close. This year, at the start of the year, we did have a conversation about capping events, and I think next year we will. And especially with having a second bar, if we just double book it every weekend, 2 trucks, we've actually got a little bike bar as well. So there's in theory a possibility of having 3 bars out. If we have 3 bars out every weekend, we can't do that. That's insane.
Yeah.
Not with 2 full-time jobs and a kid.
Right. And one thing I love about the way that you run your business is that you guys love your jobs. It's not like you're looking to leave those jobs anytime soon. You run the Bedford Bar as kind of like not necessarily a side hustle, but it's a thing that you guys love. It's a thing that you do seasonally, but it's not like you guys are hungry to like quit your jobs and do it full time.
No, we both love our jobs. So it's made it hard actually, because we have had to have the conversation of, well, which do we love more? Like, which is most important to us? And of course, the bar always comes out on top. That is the most important to us, but we both love our jobs. So
which is, I think, lovely. I actually really love that because a lot of people are like, no, I want to make this my full-time job. And how do I make enough money doing this? And what you demonstrate is you're 6 seasons in, it's entirely possible to still have a job and work full-time and have your mobile bar as for for lack of a better term, a side hustle and have all the things be harmonious and successful. I love that.
Yeah, it's taken a little bit of balance for sure. And there are certainly weekends where we're like, oh, this balance is out of the window. But it's okay. You do get better at it. And I think it's taken the pressure off us as well. We've never had to feel like we need to get more events for the bar, because if we don't, then it's fine. It takes the pressure off earning a certain amount through the bar to keep us going. And as well, there's been no pressure thanks to COVID-19, because it doesn't matter to us if we run a season or not, really, apart from the fact that we missed it. But
right. Well, that's the social aspect I think we all miss is being able to.
I mean, of course we miss being behind the bar, and of course we'd rather be at weddings, but it takes the pressure off. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned when we emailed a little bit beforehand that you were keen to talk about some of the trends that you're seeing in Australia as well.
Yeah.
What are some of those trends that you are seeing over in Australia that we might in the United States kind of start to see soon?
Well, we mostly do weddings, so they really are jam, and we go to a lot. But there are some trends that I'm seeing emerging. We were just talking before about naked teepees, which just the number one thing here at the moment. And I know you guys have normal teepees. A naked teepee is basically a teepee without the canvas on the outside. So it's just the timber structure on the inside. And people cover them in lights and put little grazing tables underneath and lounge areas. And they are beautiful. And they add a nice big feature to the wedding. I love them. I think they're great, but they are everywhere this season.
That's awesome. We actually have a place, or it's another mobile bar company, but they also have other rentals, and they do the naked teepees, although I didn't know that's what they were called. So it really, I love that. You're like, you have naked teepees. I'm like, I don't really know what that means, but it sounds lovely. I mean, maybe we'll get those. But I think that you're right. That those I've only seen it a couple times, and only in really high end weddings. So one of the things that we have started to see more of that you guys have had for a long time are those beautiful canvas tents. They're almost like the bell tents that they have lights inside. It almost glows at night.
Yeah, so there's fairy tents. I think they're sort of like a stretch tent.
Yes.
Yeah, they're massive this year as well. We don't have any up in Cairns, but I have a couple of brides who are getting them shipped from Brisbane to use in their weddings in Cairns. Now it's a 14-hour drive. So that somebody is trucking this tent. I can't imagine the expense associated with that, but that's how keen people are to have them. So they're another trend that's going off this year.
We have exactly one rental company here in Nashville that has one, and I did a wedding with it last year, and it was just so pretty. It just glowed at night. It was so pretty.
They're beautiful. So I'm really hoping for more of those because I love them, but we don't do any weddings under tents here because our weather's pretty fantastic, so don't use.
Yeah, but it has to rain, right? Like, what is the rain plan for a wedding if there's no tent?
We have a wet season and a dry season, and it doesn't usually rain in the dry season, and the dry season happens to be during wedding season. So there'll be the odd one.
Okay,
but we've done in all those years probably 3 weddings where it's rained.
Wow! So
it's not like temperate climates here. It's very seasonal.
That's fantastic. Okay, so naked tents or naked teepees. Sorry.
yeah, naked teepees are massive. The other thing which I've noticed, which I mean, it's an ongoing trend, and it's going to, I only think, become more important, is the amount of brides that I have that contact me and want to talk about eco options and like what are we doing as a business, how we can make their wedding as waste free as possible or zero waste, some weddings. And when we started out, this wasn't something that anyone ever really asked us, but now it's something that probably 80% of the brides are asking me about, and they really care. And a lot of them are booking us based on that. So we only use glassware. We have a glass washer on board. We don't use any single-use plastics. And I think that it's just something that's going to become more important.
Yes, I agree. And I've always loved that you guys have always from the beginning had a glass washer. We call it a dishwasher, but I mean, your truck is big enough certainly to accommodate it. How much
Yeah.
water do you have to carry on that thing to operate that?
We actually don't carry any water. We just require somewhere for a hose. And
Oh,
we do have like it's set up that we can just attach external water if we want to, but we haven't had to do that ever. We do a lot of
really?
outside venues, yeah, and it's usually not a problem. I think it's a bit of an Australian way of life to,
You have a hose?
they're big into gardening and outdoor spaces and that kind of stuff. So, water outside isn't an unusual thing. But,
Oh,
so we
that's
never have a
awesome.
problem. And we only need cold water as well. Our dishwasher has an internal heating element, so it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And as
Okay.
well, in COVID-19 times, it's sanitizing too, which is pretty great.
Does it sanitize with heat or does it sanitize with chemicals?
It can do both,
Okay.
but it's sanitize. I can't remember what temperature it goes up to, but it goes up to hot. So,
Hot. Very hot.
yeah,
Awesome.
very hot. So that's handy to know. We're just trying to work out how we can do our weddings in the upcoming months safely and as hygienically as humanly possible. And the glass wash has been a big part of our consideration. So
Yeah, so that's a good point because I know, for example, here there a lot of people are requiring the transition to single-use plastic from
yeah,
glassware.
we're not sure. It's not been talked about yet here. We don't know if that's what we're going to have to do. We don't know if we're going to have to be using single use or not, but we have conditions in place there for both. I'm hoping we can still use our glassware because we feel really strongly against single use. So
Yeah. And you guys have a lot better options than I think we have access to here for biodegradable plasticware.
yeah, we do have some really great options, which is what we will be using if we have to use single use. We'll be using biodegradable stuff. But again, I'd rather not if we don't have to.
Yeah, totally. When I was talking to Lulu, she mentioned that you guys have some some disposable ware that apparently composts even without a commercial composting facility. You can just throw it out in your garden and within like 3 months it'll disintegrate. We do not, to my knowledge, have that here, which I'm a little sad about because everything
we do have that option.
Yeah,
but everything I was also thinking about how you go ahead and compost like hundreds and hundreds of cups at your house.
I don't think you do. I think that the joy there is that you can throw it in the garbage. It'll compost in the waste receptacle without any intervention.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well. But we home compost here. So I was like, oh, I wonder if we could even home compost all those cups. And then I was like, no, that is too many cups.
Well, follow up with Lulu because she told me she had placed about 9 or 10 of them in her yard to see if they composted.
Okay. Well, I'll have to speak to her and find out if they did.
It was, so the jury's out, but I'm awaiting the verdict on that.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that we won't have to use them, but there are good options. And I just think that that's the way that it's going. And I think as well, if you wait until your clients are coming to you and saying, like, I need eco options, and you're like scrambling to try and work out what you can do, I just feel like then it's too late. We should be the ones leading the charge in our businesses and trying to make them as environmentally friendly as we can.
Yep, I agree. And I'm only disheartened by the lack of recycling with my current, in my city, the venues. They, for the most part, don't recycle glass and don't recycle aluminum in almost any of the venues, which is a real sad because we're selling beer and wine bottles and cans. And then when it comes to composting, literally nobody does that. But a lot of our waste is food waste. So that could also be.
Yeah, we actually bring a lot of our waste home with us if venues aren't doing it because we feel really passionately about recycling. With those fun eco warrior types.
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
And but in the same thing with venues here, though, to an extent.
Yeah, which is too bad because I feel like we're better than that.
Definitely.
Events are so wasteful.
Just unbelievably so, which I feel like is why in our sort of line of business, we really do need to be being proactive about what we can do, because otherwise it's one day that creates just an astonishing amount of waste. And I think that's another reason why I find so many of my couples going to tap beer now as well.
Yeah.
Which is excellent.
Absolutely. There's a heck of a lot less waste with kegs across the board. So whether it's wine, beer, cider, White Claw, whatever.
I don't know what that is, but...
Wait, what? You don't know what White Claw is?
No. What is it?
Oh my gosh. Every single Generation Z white girl just lost. Yeah, I don't even know it lost because I'm not that hip. But anyways, it's a hard seltzer. Do you guys have that over there?
No. There you go. Maybe we'll have some trends coming the other way across the pond.
Hey, look at that. We're trading trends. So they basically took vodka and soda. They flavored it with some, I don't know, essential oil or something. And then they put it in a can and they gave it a fancy name. And White Claw, Truly, and especially the party girls, I don't even know what to say. They love that stuff.
I know who you mean. They're the vodka lime soda drinkers here. It's the same one.
What do they drink?
Vodka lime soda, always.
But you
can tell them a mile away. She'll be a vodka lime soda girl for sure.
100%. Well, now they've canned it. And so that you can just like keep in the cooler with the beer and crack it open. And they also keg it now.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to keep an eye out for
that. I can't believe that they haven't reached your shores yet.
Yeah. Well, that's funny.
Be ready.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that.
So what other trends can we expect to see from the shores of Australia?
I'm noticing a lot of things at the moment with dried botanicals. They're everywhere, and not just like flowers, like huge installations. So like things the size of a dinner table hanging from the roof and that sort of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we do have a couple of local florists that are close to us here that sort of specialize in that. So probably I see it a little bit more than in other places, but people just making archways just out of flowers or 2 pillars instead of a whole arch for their ceremony, which I'm excited about because they look amazing, which is a good start.
Awesome.
Yeah, lots of big, dried, like really big things, which I love. So I'm noticing a lot of them.
I think Lulu actually mentioned that too, the dried.
They're massive here. And actually we just got some for our little bar bike, quite a big thing for that, out of dry botanicals, which we're really excited about. Just jumping on the trend there, as you have to. Yeah. And it goes along really well with like the naked teepees and I don't know if rattan furniture is like the only thing that I'm seeing this year at every single event. Everybody loves rattan furniture. And
you guys are close to the beach, right? And so you're going to see all of that boho stuff.
Yeah, although I'm noticing a lot less what I would call like the real boho, crummy and that sort of stuff. I'm noticing a lot less of that and more, I guess it's more like high-end boho, essentially.
Yeah, okay. So that we're luxing the boho now.
Yeah, it definitely looks more expensive. The rusticy boho, low tables, pattern cushions, that kind of thing that we saw maybe 2017, 18. That was massive here, and I did kind of love it actually. But it seems to be going, and everybody's like white rattan, white dried florals, big naked teepees.
All right.
I kind of love that too, though. So,
I mean, there's a reason we do weddings.
Yeah,
we kind of love it.
Oh, there's styles. And my husband laughs at me because whenever we get to a wedding, I'm like, I've got to find the flowers. I've got to see those flowers. What are the flowers like?
And you guys have amazing flowers there. I mean, we get a lot of good flowers here too, but you guys you have so much more access to like fresh, tropical, gorgeous florals.
Yeah, although, I barely see any tropical, which surprises me because we are right in the middle of the tropics here. Tropical is what we do. But I think maybe tropical is not in at the moment. And
so what do you see?
A lot of stuff from like they ship a lot of flowers in from the southern states here, from New South Wales and Victoria, because during our winter in Cairns, we actually don't have that many flowers. And you get the ginger and the birds of paradise and that sort of flower. It's a little late for frangipanis and that kind of thing. And orchids are unpredictable, but we just don't see. I see a lot of greenery at weddings, but I don't see that many tropical flowers. And actually, I'm really not seeing as much greenery as I used to. And I
Interesting. We see a lot of greenery here. That's like,
yeah, okay.
Some weddings are just like all green, which is nice because it's super flexible, right? You can do greenery white wall. You could do it as like a table runner. You can do it pretty much anywhere, and it just dresses something otherwise up a little bit.
I think maybe we don't see it so much here because pretty much all of our venues are outside, and it's very naturally green here. We've got venues in the rainforest and venues in bamboo groves and cane fields and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of natural greenery around, which is maybe why people are going the more like white, botanical, dried route to make it seem a little bit different. Or maybe we're all just over tropical because that's what we do here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I kind of love that stuff. On the food front, which I always think is very important, you can really set the wedding tone with the food. I've been seeing a lot more interactive food, like the grazing stations here were massive, and they still are massive. And they're great. They're such a good option. One thing which I've been noticing, which I find really interesting in the mobile bar industry, is a lot of bars using grazing stations as an add-on.
Yes.
Which is kind of clever because in Queensland, certainly, you're only able to get an off-site liquor license if you're providing food that you have made yourself. So most of us aren't chefs or caterers, but we could probably throw together a pretty good grazing table, which I love. I think that's a really great way to pivot and add on.
Absolutely. I'm interested in your take in this new post-COVID world that we're in. Grazing tables seem most unsanitary.
Oh, they do. I know.
Do we think this is the death of the grazing table, or do we feel like people are just going to keep doing it?
I feel like it's going to be, like, we'll see a shift, certainly. But I think it's just too entrenched here. People just love them too much. And I just can't see them just going away completely. But it sort of brings it on nicely to what I was going to say is I'm noticing, as well as the grazing tables, a lot of interactive food stations that involve the caterer. So, the caterer cooking directly to order sort of stuff.
Right.
Which I think might be a really great way to keep it sanitary because, they're just cooking to order, but sort of keep that, how it gives you a lovely casual vibe to walk around and select your food and that sort of thing. Gives it a nice vibe.
Yeah, it's a great alternative to the standard buffet for sure, right? You just go to the station.
Surely buffets this year aren't going to be very sanitary either.
No, no, I don't think so at all. I think there'll be much more table service, or what I'm seeing is food trucks, because food trucks are almost like that experiential station. You can go up to the food truck, you can order your food, you can walk away, you can go sit at a table or something. So, it goes very well with the mobile bar kind of theme.
It does.
So the people who are hiring us are also hiring food trucks to do food. So
we've never really done very many food truck weddings here, and I'm not sure why, because we have some really great food trucks in our local area. We've done a few. We've not done very many. And I love them. I want more. But...
Me too. Especially if I pull up to a wedding and they have a taco truck, it's like game on. Yes. Yeah. These are my people.
Yeah. We have a really great arancini ball here, So, when they're there, I'm pretty happy.
Totally. And we have dessert trucks too, which is nice. We have like a s'more truck.
Wow.
And we have a pie truck. So if I pull up at a wedding and the pie truck is there, I am, yes. very
we do not
happy
have that level of dessert, but that sounds pretty amazing. So
it's because you guys are filling up on beer. You guys are drinking so much beer. You don't save room.
And too many grazing tables are filling up on cheese before the main course.
Totally. But I will always be on board with, I think if I had to go to a deserted island and there was like, you have to choose one food to eat forever, it may be cheese, like a grazing plate, right? Cheese and charcuterie, like that's fine.
Yeah, it works for me too. I'm happy as well. But we have some good deals with some of the caterers that bring us a little one too. So that's always nice.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I think here it's not everywhere. I can't speak for everyone, but here in Nashville, they're very good. The caterers are usually very good about feeding the bartenders.
They are here as well. Maybe because we're in a small regional place, we know everybody. So it makes it easier, but we always get fed. It's fantastic.
It is lovely. It's another perk of this industry that we're in.
I have a bartender who was like, I literally only come here to eat dinner on my own. She's got kids. And she was like, it's my quietest evening of the week. She's been with us for 5 years, so it's obviously working out well.
It's working out well for her. I know that my husband and we started the business obviously together, like many of us mobile bar owners do. We started with our husbands, or vice versa. But now he's got like his own big boy job. And every once in a while I'll rope him into doing an event with me, mainly because it's like date night.
I know.
There are no children to interrupt us. Even though we're serving all night, there's also always those lulls where we're like, oh my God, there's like uninterrupted time to talk to you.
I know. We did a wedding last year when we drove the truck an hour up the road, just the two of us. And my daughter was at grandma's. And we were like, God, this is fantastic. Like, why don't we do this every weekend? Just pretend we're going to a wedding and take the truck out for a drive for some peace and quiet.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it was nice.
Well.
Maybe another time soon.
I know. The joys of running a business with your partner, for sure.
Yeah. Just wondering what else there was that I had to mention. Another thing that is massive at the moment is neons, but I think you guys have already got that a little bit there.
We are seeing that just start. I had exactly one wedding last season with it. It was towards the end of the season. It was on this giant wall that they kind of plastered with greenery. And I don't remember what the neon sign said, but they were a fun couple.
Yeah.
And not that all my couples aren't fun, but they were like a little bit extra. Like they actually put a decal on our bar that said Hot Carl or something like that. It was an inside joke. Nobody understood it but the bride and groom, and they didn't give a flying F. They're like, we get it. That's all that matters. And so people would come and ask like us what it meant. And we're like, well, we don't know. They were just a fun couple.
So fun.
Yeah. And so they had a neon at their event. And I know more mobile bars are putting that kind of in their bars or in the back of their bars as kind of decor, which is fun, I think.
Yeah, there's a cool one here. Oh, I forget what it's called. But there's a little caravan bar that says cheers on the side in a pink neon. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, they've had it for a few years though, I think. But yeah, the neons are everywhere this year here.
I like that.
Yeah, it works with the dry florals and the teepees and the sperry tents and all that sort of stuff. It all works in together, and it seems like everyone's going with the same theme this year actually. But
and for those of us that grew up in the 80s, it's a wonderful nod to our upbringing.
Yeah, definitely. So on wedding trends, I think that's pretty much it. There's always the left of center weird stuff, so we won't talk about that.
I love that. This has been a joy, and I'm really glad that we got to get you on the podcast. You've been a part of Mobile Bev Pros since the very beginning. I think you're still in the founders group.
Yes, I am.
Which gets no love. The only person that ever posts in the founders group is Belinda anymore. And I don't even know if she gets a response. Belinda, if you're listening, do you know that there's another group? I'm not sure if you do. It's fine if you don't. I think I've invited you, but it's fine if you don't. But the founders group, for the most part, I think is not a ton of love there anymore. But
I think we're all just too busy doing what we do,
which I love.
Yeah,
which is great. So I don't know of anybody in the founders group that has sold their bar or moved on to something else, right? So like the OGs, like they're still at it, which is lovely.
That is great.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Sophie. And we'll for sure have you back, and we'll talk about something else other than trends next time. Maybe we'll talk about marketing, because I mean, that's like your wheelhouse.
That is what I really do. That is my real job.
Yeah. So anyone listening, if you want to tap into some of Sophie's brilliant content on marketing, check out the blog, because she's got a ton of articles there. She talks about thriving in spite of competition. I mean, she talks about Instagram without the likes, which we still have likes over here. So, I mean, yeah, we do. I think some people have lost their likes, but I think I still have them. So I'm guessing
we lost ours probably nearly a year ago, but kind of okay with it now.
I don't even care anymore.
No, can't remember what life was like with likes.
Right. So I love it. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have you back. For anybody who is listening, this is, again, Sophie Hamilton with the Bedford Bar. She's out of Queensland, Cairns, Queensland, Australia. And you can find her OG bar truck at the Bedford Bar on Instagram. And I'm personally waiting with bated breath to see the new. Have we named the new one? Do we have a name for the new one? Yes, we do.
She's called Black Betty. And
Black Betty.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, I'm also waiting with bated breath. It's in parts at the moment, but we should be picking it up very soon. And it's every weekend I'm like, have you heard from the painter? Have you heard from the painter?
All right. So now we're all going to be awaiting the grand reveal. It's very exciking.
Fingers crossed. It all looks good.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
And that wraps up today's episode. I hope it was valuable. I would love to hear from you what you thought. You can drop me a line at hello@mobilebevpros.com or find me on Instagram at mobilebevpros. If you're looking for more valuable mobile bar related content, we have a website full of it. You can find us at www.mobilebevpros.com. And I'd love to see you in our Facebook community, also by the name of, you guessed it, Mobile Bev Pros. Thank you for joining me today. And until next time, cheers.